give me half the money.
Cops!
Oh, well, how fucking stupid do you feel now?
Hey friends, today I'm going to tell you a short recap of the movie Green Street. Get comfortable and enjoy watching. At a London subway station, two rival groups of football fans cross paths, West Ham United and Tottenham Hotspur. A few harsh words between the leaders quickly turn into shouting, and then into a brutal fight. From the rough streets of London, we move across the ocean to the United States. A journalism student named Matt Buckner is expelled from Harvard. Apparently, his wealthy roommate had something to do with it. The guy bought his silence, handing Matt $10,000. With that money, Matt flies to London to visit his sister Shannon. She meets him outside the subway station, where workers are cleaning up the mess left after a hooligan clash. Matt tells her he got expelled because they found his roommate's cocaine in his things. He didn't even try to defend himself. The addict's family was way too powerful. Later, Matt meets Shannon's husband, Steve, a caring father and a model family man. But their peaceful evening doesn't last long. Suddenly, Steve's brother Pete Dunham storms into the house like a hurricane. No one's happy to see the reckless thug. He only came to borrow money. Steve agrees to lend him £100, but on one condition: Pete has to take Matt to a football match. He and Shannon have a romantic dinner planned, and the guest showed up at the worst possible time. Steve hands Matt the money and tells him to keep it. Don't give it to Pete under any circumstances. But as soon as they turn the corner, Pete starts shaking down the student, demanding half the cash and telling him to get lost. He had no intention of taking the American to the game. Matt tries to kick the bully, but ends up flat on his back. It's his first real fight. Pete smirks, then softens a little and decides to take the scrawny kid along. Maybe he'll learn something. Before introducing him to his crew, Pete warns Matt to keep quiet about his father being a journalist. Over here, the only people we hate more than Yanks are cops and lying reporters. Among the drunken lads, Matt gets his first taste of British football slang. But not everyone is thrilled, especially Pete's right-hand man, Bover. The Americans' presence is ruining their plans for the night. After a few pints and a couple of shots, the crowd bursts into the club's anthem, singing at the top of their lungs. In the restroom, Bover roughs Matt up a bit. The Yank almost leaves, but Pete insists he stay for the match. Singing and chanting, the crowd marches through the streets toward the stadium. Right before the entrance, the troublemakers cover their faces to hide from CCTV cameras. Finally, the American will see what real football looks like. Disguised as a stadium worker for Birmingham City, Bover walks up to the rival stands and starts flipping the fans off in every direction. But he's quickly caught and thrown out of the stadium. The lads cheer him on, loving the chaos. Later, they plan an ambush near the subway, but Matt decides to head home. Unfortunately, some angry Birmingham supporters spot the smallest guy leaving the group and corner him in an alley. They shove a plastic card in his mouth, ready to give him what's called a Chelsea smile. But just in time, Pete and his crew show up and save him. A van passes by, but just as it starts moving, one of the Birmingham lads smashes its windshield. Out of the tunnel comes another 20 men, throwing bricks and bottles at the crew. Despite being outnumbered, they stand their ground, including Matt, who at first wanted to run. There's no miracle, they get badly beaten. But soon, more West Ham supporters arrive, turning the tide. The lads give the Yank some respect, even if they still laugh at his fighting skills. The next morning, Matt wakes up hungover in Pete's flat. Over breakfast, Pete explains that he's the leader of GSE, Green Street Elite, a young but elite firm. Every European football club has one. If West Ham is a mediocre football team, then GSE is a first-class crew. Arsenal, on the other hand, has the opposite. And Tottenham, well, they suck at both. Their main rivals are the Millwall firm, led by the psycho Tommy Hatcher, who once lost his son in a fight. GSE was originally founded by a man known only as the Major, and under him, the group was feared and respected. They might act like a gang, but their reputation means everything to them. Later, Pete drives Matt home. When Steve sees Matt's bruised face, he lashes out at his brother. Family drama quickly turns into a full-on brawl, and even the American gets caught in it. With nowhere else to go, the guys hit the pub again. Bover cracks a few gay jokes at their expense, and Pete has to shut him down. Soon after, Matt packs up and moves out of Shannon's place to live with Pete. They argue. Matt admits he hadn't visited his sister in years because he was still angry at her. She moved to England right after their mother died, leaving him alone. Their father, a war journalist, is always away covering conflicts. Pete decides to bring the Yank even closer to football, putting him in goal during a kids' practice match he coaches. Because of Matt's clumsiness, his team loses 10-3. Bover sees them together again, and it doesn't sit right with him. He shows up at a pub and runs into Tommy Hatcher himself. Tommy asks what the hell an American is doing in their firm, and where Pete is hiding. Tommy orders everyone in the cafe to shut up. When a couple keeps giggling, he grabs the man and smashes his head into the table. Bolivar steps in, but before things escalate, the thugs leave. The owner's already called the cops. Pete and the crew plan to follow West Ham for an away match in Manchester, but Bolivar disappears, and another lad, Dave, doesn't show up either. Matt offers to take his place, but they refuse. Turns out, the others were already waiting for Pete at the station. Matt didn't know that. Still, he jumps on the train anyway, determined to back his friend. Dave, who works as a flight attendant, arrives in Manchester before everyone else. He warns GSE that about 40 Manchester United hooligans are waiting for them at the station. The crew pulls the emergency brake, stopping short of the city. Matt comes up with a plan. They ride a delivery truck past the waiting mob and ambush them from behind. The massive brawl is caught on camera, and the cops show up fast. With bloodied faces and bruises all over, the GSE boys couldn't care less. They're proud of the stunt. The Yank has earned their respect and becomes an official member of the firm. He even gets the club's emblem tattooed on his arm. Through the fights, Matt grows harder, more confident, more fearless. One day, back at Shannon's door, his father shows up, trying to understand why his son never called when he was expelled. Matt won't talk to him. He doesn't take advice from a man he only sees twice a year. But eventually, his dad convinces him to join a lunch meeting with his colleagues at the Times. During the FA Cup draw, West Ham gets matched against Millwall, and both firms can't wait. They haven't clashed in over 10 years. As Matt walks into the newsroom, one of the GSE lads spots him and reports to Bolivar. His father urges him to go back to Harvard and clear his name together, but Matt refuses. He won't even spend the last half hour with him before his flight. Meanwhile, Steve finds out from his wife that her brother studied journalism at Harvard. That evening, he quietly meets Matt in a pub and tells him it was a huge mistake not to tell anyone he's a reporter. Steve tries to get him out unnoticed, but they're stopped. Turns out, Shannon's husband is none other than the legendary founder of GSE. Bolivar and his crew barge in on Pete and tell him the truth, that Matt is a secret journalist who suddenly appeared out of nowhere and got close to their leader. On Matt's laptop, they find his personal journal and mistake it for a draft article. Steve finally opens up about his wild past. The last match he ever went to was against Millwall. That day, Tommy Hatcher, as always, brought his 12-year-old son, Tommy Jr. After losing the game and hearing endless taunts from rivals, Steve, then still called the Major, snapped and charged at Tommy's crew. In the chaos, he saw the boy's skull crushed right before his eyes. That was the moment he walked away from GSE. When he later met Shannon, she warned him she'd leave if he ever went back to that life. Suddenly, Pete and Bolivar jump Matt, but Pete quickly cools down and decides to believe him. It was just a journal, not an article. Bolivar, however, can't let it go. He can't accept that they've been sheltering a journalist. Frustrated and jealous, Bolivar goes straight to the enemy's turf, to Tommy's hangout. He asks for help taking care of the reporter. In exchange, he tells Tommy that the Major, the man he blames for his son's death, is in the pub tonight. In the restroom, Pete confronts Matt again, demanding to know if he really works for the Times. The student's secret has put him, and GSE, in serious danger. Naive Bolivar leads Tommy's gang to the pub, and the moment he shows up, someone smashes a bottle over his head. Pete asks his brother Steve for help after the match, but Steve refuses. Moments later, Millwall's crew storms the place. Tommy walks in, looking for one man only, the Major. Steve tells him he's done with all this, and that he's truly sorry about Tommy Jr. But after a brief struggle, Tommy slashes his throat with a broken bottle. Bolivar freezes in horror, realizing what he's done. Steve collapses, bleeding out, and the others rush him to the hospital. Pete can't forgive Bolivar's stupidity and betrayal. He throws him out of the firm. Shannon arrives at the hospital with her baby and lashes out at her brother-in-law. Steve's in critical condition but alive. He squeezes his wife's hand and whispers an apology. Pete then arranges a meeting with Tommy. One last fight to settle things once and for all. Shannon, terrified, plans to fly back to America with her child. Pete tells Matt he should do the same. Meanwhile, Bolivar drinks alone, drowning his guilt in cheap whiskey. At dawn, the boys mentally prepare for the biggest fight of their lives. Matt still isn't sure whether to go. Does his reputation really matter? And will it matter back in America? Shannon calls a cab, but Matt's nowhere to be found. He's already running after his brothers, joining them for the final showdown. At the abandoned lot, Tommy's gang is already waiting. The two sides collide in a violent brawl, teeth flying, bones breaking. Some pull knives, others swing brass knuckles. Tommy beats Pete with a baton, shattering his knee and about to finish him off, when Bulver shows up and saves him. As Shannon arrives, searching for Matt, Tommy charges at her, but Pete distracts him, yelling that Tommy himself is to blame for his son's death. Tommy snaps, slamming Pete's head into the ground again and again. The others pull him back, but it's too late. Pete's dead. Together with Shannon, Matt returns to America. His first stop, his rich ex-roommate. Matt reminds him that the drugs were his, and that he once promised to help him in return. The guy admits it, and that's his mistake. The entire conversation was recorded, and there's no way to take it back. Walking down an empty street, Matt quietly hums the same song he used to sing with his London brothers in the pub.